Hey, what's up, guys? It's not really a great angle for what I'm trying to show you. Um, like really, by all rights, I need to just be like here. Um, but you can kind of get the gist of what I'm doing. So let me grab a knife blade real quick. So by no means am I an expert. I'm still trying to figure out things. But if I can help share some knowledge, why not? So I've got one of my early ARC models here. This is a Tonto. So whenever I go to grind anything, when I go to approach the grinder, I hold the blank in my non-dominant hand because this is the first grind that I'm going to do. And I always make sure that my feet are about shoulder length apart. Um, Typically, I will put my non-dominant foot just a half step back, which is my left foot, which makes no sense, but it's here nor there. Um, but the biggest thing is that whenever you go to approach the grinder, and every knife maker will tell you this, whatever you do, you want to lock in and be in that same position. I have a tendency to drop one of my shoulders. If I remember correctly, I think it's this one as I'm grinding. So that's another thing that you got to keep in mind. But no matter where your grinder is, wherever you feel most comfortable, what I did and what I still find myself doing, if it's been a little while since I've ground anything, is I'll go up to my grinder, I'll make sure that it's off, and I'll just do a couple passes, and just make sure that I'm hitting that wheel at the same spot every single time. Obviously, when you go to dip, you got to be locked in, ready to go, same spot. That way you get clean grind lines. Now, obviously, as you're grinding steel, if you get a little bit wonky or you hit a different part of the wheel, you can fix that after you've been doing this for a while. Like I said, I always start out with my non-dominant hand because I've been doing this for a while. It's actually turned into my dominant grinding hand. Um, if you're a righty, start off with your left. Do that grind first. And another thing too that I see a lot of people that are just starting out, I did the same exact thing. Let your belts do the work for you. Don't come in and go because you're going to end up damaging your wheels, damaging your flat platens, eating through your belts faster than what you need to. Take a breath, take your time, go up to the grinder, do a pass, see where you're at, see where you need to adjust, do another pass. And basically, all you're trying to do is you're trying to get your lines symmetrical and clean. Another thing that I was taught that has helped me, my first grind, I'm not directly against the wheel. I will actually go about 45 degrees and I'll knock that 90 off. I always score a center line, and you're wanting to get close to that center line as humanly possible. Usually, depending on what I'm grinding and how I'm grinding it, usually you want about a dime difference or a dime diameter. Excuse me, wrong words. Dime thickness down the center of where you're grinding. And the reason why it's typically about a dime thickness is because depending on what grit you start off, whether it's 36, 60, as you progress through your grits, you're going to bring that in. And you're getting closer to that apex. But yeah, I've practiced this several times. You walk up to the grinder, it's off. Just do a pass. See where you're hitting on that grinder. And make sure that you're hitting that same spot because you want to develop muscle memory. But like I said, you also want to be locked in to where you know no matter what, you're going to hit that same spot. And it takes a lot of practice. Like I said, I'm not an expert at it, but I do okay. Um, Another thing too that I found out with me as I've been doing this hobby is that I do not start out with a 36 grit whenever I'm grinding. When I start out with 36 grit, it eats too much into my blade too fast, and I can't control what I'm doing. So I usually start out at a 60, depending on how many times it's been used, it may be closer to an 80 grit. But that's where I start out. That's where I feel most comfortable. Um, and of course, you can get crazy with your grinds, and depending on what you're trying to do and the look, and whether it's a Tonto, whether it's not. So hopefully this video helps out a little bit. If not, I'm sorry, but I tried. Um, I think what I may do is I may try and do a series of videos showing a progression of how I go from a. We're going to pretend this is a piece of steel. It's not, it's micarta. But a bar of steel to a knife. And then after it's ground, putting handles on it. So I may do that. I may not. I don't know. But I figure doing a video like this may help. Another thing too is that whenever you go to grind your bevels, you want to grind blade up, belly up. And then when you go to do your secondary bevel, blade down. Unless you got a fancy reversible 2x72, then you can do whatever you want. But hopefully those tips will help out a little bit. Love y'all. Deuces.